chapters 25 through 30 of the book of Ezekiel from the Holy Bible in Modern English, translated by Ferrar Fenton. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mark Penfold. Chapter 25. Again the command of the Lord came to me to say, Son of Adam, set your face against the Beni Ammon and proclaim about them, and say to the Beni Ammon, Listen to the message of the mighty Lord. Thus says the mighty Lord, because you shouted hurrah against my sanctuary when it was violated, and against the soil of Israel when it was desolated, and against the house of Judah when it went to captivity, I will in consequence give you to the sons of the east for a possession, and they shall settle on your downs and encamp on them, and eat your fruits and drink your milk. I will also make Rabbah a fold for camels, and the Beni Ammon a couch for sheep, when you will learn that I am the ever-living. For thus the mighty Lord says, because you clapped your hands and jigged on your feet and rejoiced with all the spite of your soul against the soil of Israel, I have in consequence extended my hand against you, and have given you to be plundered by the nations, and cut off from the peoples, and to perish from the countries. I will destroy you, when you will learn that I am the ever-living. Thus says the mighty Lord, because Moab and Seir say, See, the house of Judah is like other nations. Be sure I will open the gates of Moab from the cities, from his frontier cities, the pride of the country, Beth Jeshimoth, Baal Peor, to Kiriathaim, to the sons of the east who assail the Beni Ammon, to whom I have given them as a possession, so that the Beni Ammon may not be remembered amongst the nations. And I will execute justice upon Moab, when they will learn that I am the ever-living. Thus says the mighty Lord, because Edom has been revengeful against the house of Judah, and ravaged, and was spiteful to them, therefore the mighty Lord says this, I have extended my hand against Edom, and will cut off from Edom men and cattle, and make it a heap of ashes from Teman to Dardan. They shall fall by the sword. I will also lay my punishment upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall execute my anger and indignation upon Edom, and they shall experience my punishments, says the mighty Lord. Thus says the mighty Lord, because the Philistine have been revengeful, and have revenged with a malicious spirit, and ravaged with perpetual spite, therefore the mighty Lord says this, I will stretch out my hand against the Philistine, and cut off the swordsmen, and destroy the remnants on the shore of the sea, and inflict great punishments amongst them, when they will learn that I am the ever-living, who lay punishments upon them. Chapter 26. It was in the 11th year, on the 1st of the month, that the command of the ever-living came to me to say, Son of Adam, because Tsur said to Jerusalem, Hurrah, the gate of the nations is broken, her ruin will turn wealth to me. Therefore the mighty Lord says thus, I am opposed to you, Tsur, and will bring many nations against you, like the rollers come up from the sea. And they will wreck the walls of Tsur, and raise her towers, and sweep the dust from her, and I will make her a dry rock. She shall become in the midst of the sea a place for spreading, a place for nets in the midst of the sea. For I have said it, the mighty Lord declared. And she shall become plunder for the nations, and her daughters who are in the country shall be murdered by the sword, when she will learn that I am the ever-living. The mighty Lord says this, I will bring Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, from the north against Tsur, the king of kings, with horse and chariot and cavalry, and the mass of a great force. Your daughters in the country will be slain by the sword, and he will make a rampart against you, and heap up an embankment, and raise approaches against you, and erect batteries against your towers, and overthrow your towers with his pickaxes. The dust from his troops of horses shall cover you. Your wall will shake with the roar from his horsemen and wagons and chariots when they enter your gates, as they enter the breach of a city. He will tramp with the hoofs of his horses in all your streets. He will slaughter your people with the sword, and fling your fortifications to the ground. And they will plunder your wealth and loot your treasures, overturn your walls and pull down your charming palaces, and fling your stones and timbers and dust into the deep sea. And I will stop the sound of your songs, and the music of your harps shall be no longer heard, for I will make you a waterless rock. You shall become a place to spread nets, nor be rebuilt forever. For the mighty Lord has spoken, the mighty Lord declared it. Thus says the mighty Lord to Tsur: Will not the islands tremble at the sound of your fall, at the groans of the slaughtered in your streets? And all the princes of the sea descend from their thrones, and strip off their broidered robes, and clothe themselves with terror? Sit on the ground, and lie down in silence and astonishment at you? Then they will raise a lamentation over you, and say, Has the mistress of all the seas perished, the glorious city made strong by the sea, who with her people terrified all who were in it? How the shores shake at the day of your fall, and the isles of the sea are dismayed at your fate. For thus says the mighty Lord: I will make your city a heap of ashes, like the cities that are uninhabitable, by bringing up the billows against you, and covering you with great seas, and will bring you down to the lowest depth, to the men of old. And you shall dwell beneath the earth with everlasting desolation, in the deepest pit. For you shall never be inhabited, because I will not let you dwell, or give you plunder in the land of the living. I will make you a terror when you cease to exist, and when sought, you shall not be found forever and ever, the mighty Lord declares. Chapter 27. The command of the ever-living came again to me to say, You yourself also, son of Adam, raise a lament over Tsur, and say to Tsur, You who reside at the ports of the sea, who trade with the peoples of numerous isles, thus says the Almighty Jehovah to Tsur: You boast, I am perfect in beauty. Your bounds are the heart of the ocean. Your builders have finished your charms. They built you with cypress from Sinir. For your decks they used Lebanon cedar, and they took it to form your high masts. Bashan's oak trees supplied you with oars. Your benches were ivory and box from Kittim. Your gay flag was fine linen of Egypt. Your sails were rich purple from Elisha's isles. Your sailors were peoples from Zidon and Arvad. Your pilots were skillful. They came, Tsur, from you. The skill and the science of Gebel were yours, constructing and building your ships for the sea, and their sailors were with you to go on your voyage. Fars, Lud, and Phut were your troops, your soldiers with shield and with helm, which they hung in you to add to your pride. And as troops round your walls were the sons of Arvad, and brave fellows they were on your towers, who hung up your shields round your walls, and perfected your charms. You traded with Tharshish for all kinds of wealth, for silver, for iron, for tin, and for lead. They purchased your mercantile wares. Javan, Tubal, and Meshech all traded with you, giving bodies of men and bronze goods for your stores. The house of Togramah with horses and chargers and mules have all purchased your goods. Sons of Dedan dealt with you, and many isles traded, handing ebony, ivory in change for your cash. And Aram bought much of your factory products, with emeralds, and purple, and muslin, and lace, and coral, and rubies they paid for your wares. Judah and Israel's land were your dealers. For fine wheat and balms, and for honey and oil, and marbles they purchased from you. Damask purchased much that you made, with the rich wine of Helbon and whitest of wool. Dan and Javan bought cloth in your markets. They sold you wrought iron, and cassia, and spices. Dedan sold you rich saddles for riding. The Arabs and princes of Kedar dealt with you. Lambs, sheep, and fine goats were their goods. The merchants of Sheba and Ramah were traders, with the best of all spices, and all precious gems, and gold which they paid for your wares. Haran and Cana and Aden with all Sheba's merchants, and Ashur and Kilmad were trading. They bought of you fine purple fabrics, and laces and braids of mixed hues, and cables well twisted, and cedars they purchased. Ships of Tarshish transported your trade, and extended your power in the heart of the seas. But your sailors have brought you to breakers. The eastern wind wrecks in the midst of the sea. Your bullion, your cargoes, your merchants and seamen, and captains, constructors, shipbuilders, and brokers, with all the bold warriors about you, with all those collected within you, will fall in the depth of the sea on the day when you fall. At the sound of the shriek of your pilots, the breakers will tremble. All who handle the ropes will descend from their ships. The sea captains and sailors will stand on the land, and will send up their cries, and will bitterly shriek, cast dust on their heads, and will roll on the sandhills, and strip themselves for you, and clothe them in sacks, and weep with soul anguish, and bitterly grieve. And raising their wail, they will chant over you, "Oh, who was like Zur in the midst of the waters? Many nations were fed by your trade on the seas. By your great wealth and traffic the kingdoms grew rich. Now the breakers have wrecked in the trough of the sea. Your cargo and crew sink with you to its bed. All dwelling in islands are stupefied at you, and their monarchs, quivering, have terrified looks. The mercantile nations scream at you in terror. You were, but you never shall rise up again." Chapter 28. Again the message of the ever-living came to me to say, "Son of Adam, proclaim to the prince of Zur, and say, Thus says the mighty Lord, because of the pride of your heart, and your saying, I am a god, I sit with the gods in the heart of the seas, yet you are a man, and not a god, although you have set your heart in the circle of the gods. However, you are wiser than the judge of the gods. They cannot hide any secrets from you. You have made yourself powerful by your sciences and your knowledge, and enriched yourself in treasures of gold and silver. You have traded with your many sciences. You have increased your power, and your heart has risen with your power. Therefore, thus says the mighty Lord, because you have set your heart like the heart of God, I will bring cruel, tyrannical nations against you, who will draw their swords against your fine sciences, and spoil your splendor. And you shall sink to death with a deadly wound in the heart of the sea. Will you assert before your murderers, I am a god? Yet you will be a man and not a god to the hand wounding you. You shall die in contempt. You shall die by the hand of a foreigner, for I, the ever-living, have decreed it." Then the command of the ever-living came to me to say, "Son of Adam, raise a lament over the king of Zur, and say to him, Thus says the mighty Lord, You perfect seal, full of science and spotless in beauty, you once were in Eden, the garden of God. Every stone that is precious was fastened upon you, ruby, topaz, and diamond, the beryl and onyx, sapphire, emerald, and opal. In chasings of gold they were made, and set on you the day you were born. And you were the cherub, the holy protector, and sat on the hill that was sacred to God. You walked in the midst of the bright flashing jewels. You were right in your path from the day of your birth, until in yourself the corruption was formed, till your trades filled your breast with extortion and wrong. So I flung you out from the mountain of godhood, and sent your guardian spirit from among the bright gems. From your beauty your heart rose, your science corrupted. Notwithstanding your splendor, I flung you to earth, and before kings I cast you to show what you are. Your great passion for trade deeply wounded your virtues. So I bring fire from you, consuming yourself, and on earth lay your ashes in sight of onlookers. All nations who knew you will shudder above you. You have been a terror, but shall be never more. Then the command of the ever-living came to me to say, Son of Adam, set your face against Zidon, and proclaim to her, and say, Thus says the mighty Lord, Zidon, I am against you, and I will be honored amongst you. Then they will know that I am the ever-living, when I execute justice on her, and I shall be respected in her. For I will send a plague to her, and bloodshed in her streets, and the slain shall fall in her from the sword that assails her around. Then they will learn that I am the ever-living, and there shall not be again an irritation from them, or painful briar to the house of Israel from any around, but they will learn that I am the mighty Lord. The mighty Lord declares thus, When I collect the house of Israel from the peoples among whom I have scattered them, and have been reverenced by them in the sight of the heathen, and they are restored to the soil I gave to my servant Jacob, upon which they shall dwell in safety, and build houses and plant vineyards and rest secure, when I have executed justice on all around who despised them, they will acknowledge that I am their ever-living God. Chapter 29. In the 10th year, on the 12th day of the 10th month, the command of the ever-living came to me to say, Set your face against Pharaoh, king of the Mitzrayim, and proclaim to him and to all the Mitzrayim. Speak and say, Thus says the mighty Lord, I am opposed to you, Pharaoh, king of the Mitzrayim, you great reptile of the land between the rivers, who says to me, It is my river, I made it for myself. I, however, will put hooks into your jaws, and make the fish of your rivers stick to your scales, and pull you up out of your rivers onto the face of the fields where you will fall, neither collected nor picked up, but I will give you as food to the beasts of the earth and the birds of the skies. Then all the population of the Mitzers will know that I am the ever-living, because they were a reed-like crutch to the house of Israel. When they leaned upon your handle, you split and gashed all their shoulder, and when they leaned upon you, you broke and shook all their waist. Therefore, thus the mighty Lord declares, I will bring a sword against you, and cut off from you men and cattle. And the land of the Mitzrayim shall become a desolation and ash heap, and they shall learn that I am the ever-living, because they said, The river is mine, and I made it. Therefore I oppose you and your river, and will make the land of the Mitzrayim a heap of ashes, a waste of ashes from the tower of Sunah to the borders of Cush. The foot of man shall not pass over it, nor shall it be inhabited for 40 years. For I will make the land of the Mitzrayim a waste in the midst of desolate countries, and her cities in the midst of cities of ashes. They shall be deserted for 40 years, and I will scatter the Mitzrayim among the nations, and sow them among the countries. But, the mighty Lord declares, at the end of 40 years, I will collect the Mitzrayim from the peoples where I have driven them, and restore the captive Mitzrites, and return them to the district of Pathros, to the land of their birth, and it shall become a low kingdom. It shall be lower than any kingdom, and never again raise itself above the nations, for I will prevent it from trading in nations, and it shall no more be trusted by the house of Israel, a reminder of former sufferings to their face. Then they will learn that I am the ever-living. It happened again in the 27th year, on the 1st of the 1st month, the command of the ever-living came to me to say, Son of Adam, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, has done a big work with his army at Sur. Every head has been made bare, and every shoulder chafed. But neither he nor his army have had any pay from Sur for the work they have done against her. Therefore, thus says the mighty Lord, I will give the land of the Mitzrayim to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, and he shall carry off her wealth, plunder her plunder, and loot her loot, and it shall be the pay of his army. For the work he has done at her, I give to him the land of the Mitzrayim, for what he did for me, said the mighty Lord. At the same time I will produce a shoot from the house of Israel, and give you an open mouth amongst them. when they will learn that I am the ever-living. Chapter 30. The command of the ever-living came again to me to say, Son of Adam, proclaim and say, Thus says the mighty Lord, Howl, alas for the day comes, the day of the ever-living comes, a gloomy day, the day of the nations comes, and a sword has gone to Mitzer, and anguish has gone to Cush at the fall of the wounded of Mitzer, for her wealth is seized, and her foundations are upturned. Cush and Phut and Lud and all the Arab and Kub and the men of the countries allied with them shall fall by the sword. Thus said the Lord, they shall fall heavily with Mitzer, and her proud strength shall rush down. They shall fall with her by the sword from Migdol to Suneh, said the ever-living, and be desolate amongst the desolate countries, and their cities amongst the cities shall become heaps of ashes, when they will learn that I, the ever-living, have put a fever in Mitzer, which will shatter all her strength. Then messengers shall proceed from my presence to the deserts to cause terror to easy Cush, and anguish will reach them like that of Mitzer, for look, it has arrived. The mighty Lord continued thus, I will take away the wealth of Mitzer by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel. He and his people with him, the terror of nations, advance to destroy the country, and draw their swords against Mitzer, and fill the land with slain. I also will make their rivers ash heaps, and sell the country to the hands of the cruel, and desolate the land and its industry by the hand of foreigners. I, the ever-living, have said it. Thus says the mighty Lord, I will make the idols waste away, and destroy the delusions from Noph, and a prince shall never again come from the land of the Mitzrayim, but I will put fear in the country of Mitzer. I will desolate the delta, and set fire to Zayon, and execute justice on Noah, and pour my indignation on Sin, the fortress of Mitzer, and cut off the wealth of Noah. When I set fire to the Mitzrayim, Sin will be in torment, and Noph in daily misery. The warriors of Aven and Pi Beseth will fall by the sword, and they shall go to captivity. What a dark day for Taphanes, when I break the supports of the Mitzrayim, and destroy the pride of her power. Gloom will cover her, when her daughters go into slavery, and I execute justice on the Mitzrayim. Then they will learn that I am the ever-living. It was in the 11th year, on the 1st of the 7th month, the command of the ever-living came to me to say, Son of Adam, I have shattered the arm of Pharaoh, king of the Mitzrayim, and it has not been bound with remedial appliances or wrapped in bandages to fix and strengthen it to grasp the sword. For thus said the mighty Lord, I am opposed to Pharaoh, king of the Mitzrayim, and have broken the arms of his power. They are broken, and have caused the sword to fall from his hand. And I will scatter the Mitzrayim amongst the nations, and sow them in the countries, but will strengthen the arms of the king of Babel, and put my sword into his hand, but break the arms of Pharaoh, who will groan the groans of the wounded before him. For I have strengthened the arms of the king of Babel, and enfeebled the arms of Pharaoh. And they shall learn that it is I, the ever-living, who put the sword into the hand of the king of Babel, and extend it against the Mitzrayim, and who scatter the Mitzrites amongst the nations, and sow them amongst the countries, where they will learn that I am the ever-living. The end of chapters 25 through 30. Recording by Mark Penfold.